Humanity through the lens of Friedrich Nietzsche. Philosophy aids individuals in self-reflection, evaluating their behaviors, and examining their lives. It can be asserted that the paths pursued by many philosophers aim at understanding, researching, and advocating for humanity. This lofty passion was also prevalent in Nietzsche's philosophy. However, unlike contemporary philosophers, Nietzsche explored humanity in his unique way. In this section, let's delve into the key factors influencing the formation of Nietzsche's ideas about humanity. From there, we will explore how Nietzsche constructed his own philosophy of the Übermensch, Overman or Superman. Formation of Friedrich Nietzsche's ideas about humanity. Influence of the existentialist movement. Many thinkers in the early 20th century condemned forms of absolutism, viewing rationality as a solitary path leading to comprehensive truth. Therefore, philosophers aligned with existentialism sought new sources of thought. Tran Hor Din writes, "Existentialist philosophy emerged dramatically, almost like thunder reverberating through the heavens and shaking Western society vigorously. Existentialist philosophy did not aim to discover the ultimate principles or causes and purposes of everything. Instead, it focused on the human condition, seeking to understand the meaning of life. Its proponents argued that philosophy should not seek universal elements where human nature or the essence of humanity is key. Rather, it aimed to examine existing individuals in specific reality. Thus, the purpose of existential philosophy was to awaken individuals, lift them out of passive states, and help them ascend to the level of life characterized by free and autonomous individuals. This philosophy was about freedom. As stated in existential phenomenology, human beings differ from all other creatures in that humans are free. This means rejecting a life like plants and animals and embracing the responsible life of autonomous individuals. It is for those who refuse to live according to a predetermined pattern and demand to rise up to create themselves, affirming their distinctive characteristics and uniqueness. In general, humans are the focus of existential philosophy because they are the source of all values and the highest value in the universe, playing a decisive role in all perception. However, existential philosophy is divided into two opposing branches: theistic existentialism and atheistic existentialism. Tran Hor Din points out that the opposition lies not only in theism and atheism, but also significantly in their humanistic beliefs. Theistic existentialism opens its heart to embrace and empathize with others, while atheistic existentialism remains closed and does not establish any humanistic connections between individuals. Within atheistic existentialism is Friedrich Nietzsche, a prominent representative and the founder of atheistic existentialism. Nietzsche lived in an era that some authors consider the explosion of anthropology, particularly in philosophy, placing humans at the center of the universe, emphasizing the human condition, and exploring the meaning of life. Thus, most of his philosophical ideas focused on the aspect of humanity but in his unique direction. Influence of Arthur Schopenhauer's philosophy. Nietzsche was passionate about exploration, extensively traveling and meeting various people. He always engaged in independent and creative thinking, selecting his own unique path. He inherited ideas from his predecessors, which significantly altered his own perspective. Nietzsche referred to the profound thoughts that had a lasting impact on his life, stating, when speaking of Plato, Pascal, Goethe, "I feel their blood flowing in my veins." In the early stages of his life, most of his mentors were German, including Goethe, Fichte, Wagner, Schopenhauer, and others. Additionally, French authors such as Rousseau, Pascal, Chamfort, Montaigne, and Stendhal also captivated Nietzsche. However, Schopenhauer remained the true guiding force for Nietzsche. Arthur Schopenhauer, 1788–1860, was a German transcendental philosopher of the first half of the 19th century. His philosophy was primarily inspired by the ideas of philosophers like Plato, Kant, and the Upanishads. Initially, the influence of Schopenhauer's philosophy was limited. However, after the failure of the German Revolution, Schopenhauer's philosophy gained recognition, and he was hailed as a great philosopher of the time. His pessimistic philosophy became predominant in the mid-19th century German idealism. During his university years, Nietzsche, going through pain and deep disappointment, discovered and immediately became enamored with Schopenhauer. This encounter, as described by Charles Andler in his book, Nietzsche, Essay via Essay Pense, was a pivotal event where, the spirit of philosophy, along with Schopenhauer, poured into Nietzsche's soul like a storm that upheaved and transformed his entire being. This meeting transformed Nietzsche, leading him to remark, "It was through reading Schopenhauer's works that I became a philosopher." Schopenhauer's ideas can be summarized in 3 main points. Firstly, Schopenhauer assigned an immensely important role to the subject. This perspective was expressed through the theme, "The universe is my representation." This truth applies to all living beings and those capable of thought, although only in humans does it become an idea and conscious. The universe is merely the result of the encounter between the subject and the external world. Hence, there is no absolute universe. This idea served as a precursor for Nietzsche's re-evaluation and overturning of values in his philosophical system. Secondly, Schopenhauer emphasized the crucial role of the will in humans. Unlike philosophers before him who considered reason as the dominant element in humans, Schopenhauer was the first to advocate, the will is the fundamental and foundational factor in humans. The will guides and governs intellect because intellect is a secondary component. According to Schopenhauer, only the will can explain the existence and actions of humans. This notion deeply resonated with Nietzsche, becoming the foundation for Nietzsche's creation of the Übermensch with a powerful will, a will daring to overcome all obstacles for self-elevation. Finally, Schopenhauer discussed the individuality and the body of humans. He believed, the subject of knowledge is a living individual. The subject of knowledge becomes one with the body, and only in this way can individuals exist. The actions of the body are the actions of the will when directed towards the universe. This means that the actions of the will are executed through the actions of the body. Therefore, the actions of the body are of great importance. This third idea laid the groundwork for Nietzsche's call for individuals to live faithfully to the earth, refraining from dreaming about a world beyond. In conclusion, the core ideas of Schopenhauer's philosophy emphasized the vital role of the subject, will, and the body in humans. These ideas served as a foundation for Nietzsche's philosophy, leading to the development of evaluative theory, the concept of a strong will, and the call for loyalty to the earth. Consequently, it is evident that most of Nietzsche's philosophical ideas were significantly influenced by the thoughts of Schopenhauer, as noted by Charles Andler. Nietzsche's true master is Schopenhauer because he synthesizes the romantic spirit and the grand spirit of Goethe. Humans denying the supreme being. Why did Nietzsche reject and exclude the supreme being from the human world? Ludwig Feuerbach believed that religion is the alienation of humanity. Perhaps modern humans no longer need the supreme being. Or is the supreme being a drug harmful to humans? Let's explore Nietzsche's arguments against the supreme being through his thoughts. In most of his works, Nietzsche extensively discusses the issue of the supreme being, especially in 2 main works, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, and The Antichrist. Although he talks a lot about the supreme being, Nietzsche does not acknowledge its existence. His works aim to eliminate the supreme being from the human world, allowing humans to be free and in control of their lives. To build the superior human, Nietzsche first had to dismantle the image of the supreme being, denying its existence to make humans become Übermensch, overhuman. This is evident in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, when he writes, "Before the face of God. While that God was still alive. Oh, those higher men, that God's death was the greatest danger you faced." Nietzsche condemns weak individuals who live in obedience like slaves to a dead God, losing their self-determination. He believes that the superior human will replace the weak, becoming masters only when that God is dead. Nietzsche sees the supreme being as a fabrication of reason, for the weak, feeble, and enslaved. The supreme being is an idea that distorts everything straightforward and disrupts everything stable. Moreover, in building the Übermensch, Nietzsche disregards the need for the supreme being. He calls on those superior individuals to be their own gods, stating, "Cast away from yourselves this God. Better to have no God. Better to set one's fate according to one's own mind, to madness, to chance, to a childish play with dice, than as slaves to a God who is a coward." Furthermore, Nietzsche urges these superior individuals to create values, to take charge of their lives and have authority over all values they create. According to Nietzsche, without the supreme being, Humans may feel a shadow cast upon them, but this creates an opportunity for a new light to shine. Humans are liberated to embark on a journey, to be free and bold in determining their own lives. Alongside rejecting the Supreme Being, Nietzsche criticizes individuals who live detached from reality and indulge in fanciful dreams of another utopian place, forgetting the duty to lead a fulfilled life on this earthly plane. He writes, "They are the despisers of life, the sickly, the faint-hearted, and also the poisoned ones. The earth is tired of them." Nietzsche calls on superior individuals to live authentically in the present world, to cling to the earth's values rather than being swayed elsewhere. He pleads, "O my brothers, I implore you, remain true to the earth and do not believe those who speak to you of otherworldly hopes. They are poisoners, whether they know it or not." Nietzsche believes that life is inseparable from the earth and its values, free from illusions and lofty ideals. This kind of life provides freedom and happiness because individuals can express their fundamental nature without being controlled by any god. Nietzsche calls for each person to unleash their potential strength and rightful qualities, to face challenges boldly, without relying on any fantastical world. Nietzsche praises the vitality in each individual, asserting that humans must live in a way that is worth living, with meaning. Life's significance lies in how we live, not how long. In summary, Nietzsche's efforts to deny the Supreme Being liberated humans from the constraints of religion, freeing them to take responsibility for their lives. Simultaneously, he awakened those who were deluded about a distant world, urging humans to live fully in this earthly existence. Overhuman, will and hero. Similar to existentialist philosophers, Nietzsche considered the will to power as the fundamental value and the only foundation for other values. If not directed towards the will to power, knowledge is merely a formal value, meaning it holds value in death. Therefore, he believed he had a mission to change humanity through the powerful life of the Übermensch. Will and Übermensch are two aspects of a reality where superior humans are built. Tran Hordin wrote about Nietzsche's will in the Übermensch as follows: "The strong will of the Übermensch is to place oneself at the center and as a perspective to look at society. This will shows dominance, setting a value for everything without adhering to any value ladder. According to Nietzsche, living means standing apart, separating oneself from the crowd to dare to think and rise. A man is only really great when he does not bow before what is, but fights for what should be. Will is the inherent nature that helps humans live fully, face every difficulty and challenge, and rise to live more vigorously, more meaningful, and more creative." Nietzsche built the Übermensch as those who yearn to rise and are self-aware. In this section, let's explore what Nietzsche means by self-determination and unique will in humans. At the same time, we will find answers to the question posed: is the Übermensch always striving upwards and self-aware? Self-determination in humans. Unlike traditional philosophy, which focuses on the universe and neglects humans, existential philosophy thinks and explores only about humans. The central question for existential philosophers is, how can humans be completely free and self-governing? This is the main topic they strive to answer. Below, let's see how Nietzsche resolves this issue through his theory of the will. Similar to Schopenhauer, Nietzsche believed that the universe is only a view of oneself. The value of the universe lies in how one views and interprets it. In Nietzsche's thought, the Übermensch is those who have truly achieved the highest freedom and self-governance, who are aware of what they think and do without inclining to follow each other like the crowd often does. In Ecce Homo, he wrote, "From the very beginning, we hold on to the boring nonsense of the veneration of unreason in order to be able to reward freedom, carefree, indifferent, enthusiastic, almost incomprehensible. It is the attitude of living according to the crowd, where the individual loses their uniqueness, becoming a follower in the sense of eternal life. They do not live for themselves but for others, following others." Nietzsche vehemently criticized this way of life. He called on the Übermensch to stay far away from such a lifestyle. The Übermensch, the noble individuals, must choose a truly lonely position, a lonely freedom, a light solitude that can confer on you the right to exist in some beautiful sense. Each individual must know how to determine their own life and destiny. Self-determination fundamentally means finding a new perspective, is a thinker totally different from what people expect from him based on his origin, relationships, status, and the ideals dominating his era. According to Nietzsche, self-governing people should not care about the criticism and judgments of ordinary people because they are not born to replicate life according to the patterns of ordinary people but to find their own path. They must be determined to venture onto a dangerous and glorious path, as Tranhor Din quoted in Ecce Homo. The superior person is the one who is conscious and believes firmly that he has the right to discern, has the right to set values without needing anyone's approval. Whatever they think is harmful, that is harmful. Whatever they think is honorable, that is honorable. The self-governing person is the one who creates values, créateur de valeur. That is the logic of the self-governing person, a logic that exalts human dignity. According to Nietzsche, the self-governing person should not pay attention to the unreasonable constraints of freedom in the masses, as it is most harmful to human freedom. He wrote in Twilight of the Idols, freedom undermines the subconscious will to power, levels high mountains and valleys, and calls that law, making people small, cowardly, and lustful. The self-governing person is the one who must have the will to take responsibility for oneself, must become even colder towards hardship, suffering, scarcity, and even towards life. However, the freedom Nietzsche talks about is also highly dynamic. Freedom means the instincts rejoicing in war and victory, trampling on the warm and contemptible happiness that the tinker shop owners, the Christians, the cows, the women, the English people, and other Democrats often dream of. Through the arguments above, we can see that Nietzsche condemned the dull and purposeless way of life of contemporary humans. They only know how to depend on others, not taking control of their own lives. Besides criticizing such a lifestyle, he calls on humans to restore the right to self-determination through internal will in each individual. Because the right to self-determination is a fundamental right for humans. Unique will in humans. While traditional philosophy seeks universal and abstract human qualities, Nietzsche believes that since each person is unique, they must have their own distinctiveness. This position is elaborated as follows. Under Nietzsche's perspective, everything with a common and popular character among the crowd is considered ordinary and contemptible. He believes that democracy is an invention of the mediocre to restrain the heroic. According to him, the hero must be unique, meaning they dare to live alone, be autonomous, and have a strong will to do what they want. As he wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, all superior men who are dependent on nothing and no one and want to be who they are belong in the best place in the world, in solitude, in secret, where they can get away from the crowd, where they can forget the laws of humanity and become extraordinary. Thus, heroes are individuals with new and innovative thinking who follow new paths. By doing so, heroes naturally feel lonely. This loneliness occurs because such heroes are rare and are often separated and ridiculed by the common people. However, Nietzsche emphasizes that it is in loneliness that the overhuman restores strength, returns to oneself, breathes the fresh, gentle, liberating air. He praises the virtue of loneliness, stating in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, loneliness is one of the four virtues. It takes us to the sublime and makes us feel the need for nobility. Therefore, the overhuman must take pride in feeling lonely on the path of new ideas. According to him, heroes are not friends with the crowd. They do not need to seek the approval of the crowd. If heroes still care about the praise or criticism of the public, they become slaves to the crowd and are worse than ordinary people. He wants heroes to be distinguished, with a fresh way of thinking, as Félicien Chalais wrote in Nietzsche, Life, and Philosophy, the virtuous prefer old things, but old things are preserved. The noble wants to create something new, a new virtue. The spirit of freedom is the spirit uniquely unique, while the crowd only constitutes a slave spirit. This crowd is submissive to social influences, enslaved to the times, circumstances, fashions. The mental attitude of the crowd is based on its habits, not on free choice. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche accused the crowd as they always uphold the idea of equality. There are no superior people. We are all equal. Everyone is equal in value. We are all equal before God. And they mock us when we have discovered and walked on our own path. In the book, Philosophy of the Present, Tran Thai Din wrote about Nietzsche's crowd as follows: The crowd is just a shadow, a puppet that turns upside down, says yes and no. The crowd is really a gigantic and soulless machine. Whoever wants to live like the crowd, that person will lose their own life's present, living like everyone else is mediocre, not knowing how to use their freedom and humanity. Nietzsche calls the overhuman, the hero, not to be timid, not to want to live like the ordinary crowd. Before the crowd, we don't want to be equal. O noble ones, stay away from the workplace. The superior person must always show deep uniqueness, individuality, and must always live with their own distinctive characteristics rather than abandoning the self to live a false life like the miserable crowd. Thus, according to Nietzsche, those who want to live their own lives must break away from that soulless life, must dare to think, must always strive to overcome themselves, must find their own path, live creatively, dare to think what no one has thought of before, dare to follow those new paths, must be self-aware and self-liberating. He said that no slavery is more humiliating than spiritual slavery. Humans always strive upwards. For Nietzsche, striving upwards is an indispensable factor for superior people, a natural result of the heroic will. Firstly, according to Nietzsche, it is like a necessary command that urges the overhuman every moment to overcome themselves. As he wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, to want to rise high, you must use your own feet, don't make others carry you up, don't sit on the back or on the head of others. Thanks to such a powerful self-overcoming, the overhuman will undoubtedly overcome the lowly and contemptible individuals around them. He continues, in everything, you must always be at the top and you must surpass others. According to the author Tran Tai Din when writing about Nietzsche, man is a pace, a process of going up, something that must be overcome, not enjoyment or ultimate. For Nietzsche, striving upwards is an active attitude of reaching upwards with the internal strength of human beings, with their own strong will, without the need for any external force. Because God is dead, if there is a God, he only makes the overhuman more timid while the common people are the ones hindering the steps of the overhuman. That is what Zarathustra said, "Who are your neighbors? And even when you do good for your neighbor, you have not created anything perfect for him, fellow man, only the virtue of the common people." Therefore, Nietzsche strongly condemned the crowd, the miserable crowd, though numerous, but no one is a complete person, unable to overcome themselves because they cannot give up what is considered happiness, virtue, justice, compassion. They are just puppet-like beings that echo whatever they hear. He wrote, "Oh, horrible people, those who are not yet human." Nietzsche calls the overhuman, the hero, not to be afraid, not to want to live like the miserable crowd. Before the miserable crowd, we don't want to be equal. O noble ones, stay away from the workplace. The superior person must always show deep uniqueness, individuality, and must always live with their own distinctive characteristics rather than abandoning the self to live a false life like the miserable crowd. Thus, according to Nietzsche, those who want to live their own lives must break away from that soulless life, must dare to think, must always strive to overcome themselves, must find their own path, live creatively, dare to think what no one has thought of before, dare to follow those new paths, must be self-aware and self-liberating. He said that no slavery is more humiliating than spiritual slavery. Humans are always striving to rise above their destiny, cannot be satisfied with their fate, cannot live ordinary lives, but must strive to rise, must know how to reassess all values to affirm the dynamic, creative nature in humans, find new values for life. Nietzsche always emphasizes the firmness, the courage of a person. At the same time, he condemns the constraints of the virtues and values of the present time. According to him, if you are a person, you must know how to evaluate yourself to rise up, otherwise, life will become empty and meaningless. Humans can freely choose any value they're interested in. The values have taken humans out of the animal kingdom and created civilization. Humans have become self-aware. According to Nietzsche, the overhuman is a person who steps out from within the crowd but is the one who must step on the crowd, the one who rises above ordinary humans. The overhuman is a person who knows that they are no longer bound by any limits. It is a self-aware and liberated person. But self-awareness, according to Nietzsche, is waking up from all illusions and endless sleep. Waking up is the awareness of this life, not letting oneself be enslaved by anything, but instead, it is the attitude of autonomy and freedom to reassess all values. Enlightenment is taking responsibility for oneself, following the path of power and affirming one's own dignity. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he wrote, "The overhuman is the person who liberates himself from the happiness of the servant class, frees himself from the gods, from worship, without fear and terror, lofty and lonely. That is the indication of the true one." He points out that those who close their eyes and live by traditional rules do not see the need to think. As soon as they see others do something, they do the same, blindly following the rules they don't understand, living to get through life, to waste life. The overhuman is always awake, always thinking, always reflecting. They are those who have enlightenment that no slavery is more humiliating than spiritual slavery. The overhuman cannot be reckless. Nietzsche pointed out that only ordinary people are reckless, living blindly according to rules they don't understand. They live like sheep, live to get through, to waste their lives. Based on the work, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Tran Tai Din presented the self-aware person as follows. The self-aware person is someone who has liberated themselves from trivialities, from webs, from scenes of half-light and half-darkness, away from what is obedience, kneeling, and slavery. They are as calm as light and have gone beyond all the storms of denial. Thus, Nietzsche constructs a person who has awakened from all illusions, from endless sleep, and from slavery. The person is now entirely free and autonomous to strive upwards with their own unique characteristics.